County. This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. My name is Carol Merton, and today I am delighted to welcome three guests to the program. In no particular order, Police Chief Craig Ambrose, Wendy Pratt, who is the Human Resources Manager, and Constable Rebecca Gates, all who are with the Owen Sound Police Services. I want to welcome all of you, and we're really going to be talking about an exciting initiative, Women in Policing, Recruiting Strategies, and a pledge. So, Chief, I'd like to know more about what you've pledged to do and why you pledged it, because I understand that the Owen Sound Police Service has joined an international movement to improve recruitment and retention of women in policing, and it's a 30 forward pledge. Can you fill us in a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, Carol. The Owen Sound Police Service, obviously, one of the things that we want to reflect is the diversity and demographics of our community so we can best serve the community. And one of those things is obviously women in policing is a priority for us. And we've made great strides in the last 6 years to try and increase our complement of women police officers. And, there are a lot of strengths they bring to policing. And so we've done really well, but it's hard to attract good candidates. And that's our biggest thing. And when I looked at the 30 Forward Pledge, it's based on the idea that once you get 30% of a demographic within a workforce, then it starts to, take off on its own. And so we're very close. Depending on how you calculate it, we're closer or further away, but we're very close to that level now. But I think the biggest thing is it's a help and an aid in recruiting. So we signed on to this pledge. There's a similar one in the States, and Wendy can probably explain a lot of it. She's been doing the nuts and bolts of the introduction, and we're going to be rolling it out soon, and I'll turn it over to Wendy.
Excellent. This is quite a progressive move, though, to actually pledge towards achieving a target, an actual goal. It strikes me as being quite progressive. Wendy, tell us about the 30 Forward.
30 Forward is incredibly exciting. We've always had a focus on women in policing, but now we're committing to a greater representation. And representation is important. We want our service to be representative of the community that we serve. We have about 23% female representation on our service, and our goal is to get that up above 30%. And that's not to say that we won't hire men. It's not to say that we're changing our standard whatsoever, but it's actively encouraging women to join the service, encouraging women to consider a career that perhaps they may not have normally considered, and helping support them as they go through the selection process, helping them understand how different that role is, but the rewards that it provides as well.
Before the program, we briefly chatted about this. You have to see it to be it, and by having women in police services, others see that there is a role that certainly women can do within the police service. So it's recruitment, it's hiring, but it's also support that you're providing to women as well. So tell me a little bit more about the 30%, and was it hard to get? I believe, Chief, you said it was over 20% we have currently. Was it hard to get that 20%? So wondering who can talk to that.
I'll maybe start, and then if Wendy wants to add something to it. One thing I want to stress is we're not changing our hiring standards, and we're not modifying those at all. We're still selecting the best candidates for the position. We are trying to attract more individuals into the applicant pool, because we'll find the good quality applicants the more applications that we have. So it hasn't been easy, but it hasn't been difficult. But we've made all the hires that we've made, we're very proud of the jobs that they're doing, and they're hired because they're the best people to serve our community. And we want to continue that. We just want to be able to have more people explore policing as a career and as an option, and attract a candidate who may not have considered policing, who may have considered, oh, you know what, I can't do it for whatever reason, or I don't want to do it for whatever reason. Have them look at it again, and we focused on some application nights. We run the Citizens Police Academy. We bring people in to try and gather them and look at policing as a career.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you say is that 30%, that is not a quota. That is a goal to work towards. You'll aspire to do that, but you're hiring qualified candidates across the board. What you want to do is encourage, you're offering encouragement for women to consider the career and to apply.
Absolutely, and I think the demographics of our community, we're supposed to reflect the demographics of our community. So, it isn't even 30%. I think 30% is the tipping point. But, if you look at the demographics of our community, it's almost 50-50 male, female. It's slightly higher, slightly off that. But generally, that's if you're looking to reflect the diversity and reflect the composition of your community, I guess if you're looking at an actual level, it would be 50.
Okay. Yeah. So Rebecca, do you mind if I call you Rebecca? Should I call you Sergeant Rebecca?
Oh, I'm not a sergeant. You can call me Rebecca. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a bit about yourself, because we've been talking about women in policing, but you are a woman in policing. Tell us a bit about yourself. And then, what are some of the myths around women in policing?
So for myself, this was a career change for me. I was in sales for the better part of 10 years. And then I decided to take the opportunity to apply to policing. So I would say when it comes to the myths or the barriers for deciding whether to do that career, I would say for myself, it was more life occurrences that I wasn't really put off by the fact that I couldn't apply to the role. But I do think that sometimes females maybe just think it's not going to be achievable if they want to have, a family, or maybe just to what their experience will be like working for the service, or are they going to be able to have the same skills that maybe their male counterparts will have and that are necessary for the role. I think maybe sometimes these are the myths that surround policing and why a female might not want to apply.
So the skills that women bring, sometimes people will say, well, I'm not a big person, I'm not hefty person. I can't physically do the job. Maybe you could speak a little bit about the different types of skills and the approaches that women in policing bring that might be slightly different than their male counterparts. And I apologize, it's Constable Gates, right?
Yeah.
I better get the title right, or the chief will be sending me an email.
No, that's no problem. And you can call me Rebecca. But so for myself, I can speak for myself. I'm 5'2", and I probably weigh about 120 pounds. So I'm definitely a smaller stature. When I approach certain situations, I don't think there's any officers, particularly with our service, that ever want to go in and have to use force to de-escalate a situation, because there's always the outcome that somebody can get hurt. So it's not the forefront of any police officer or as part of our training. However, I think, for example, for myself, using force is definitely further from my abilities. I don't have the same skills as maybe some of my other counterparts when it comes to the use of force. to de-escalate things in a more calming way, because I don't have the physical strength to just maybe hold somebody in position maybe the same way as somebody of a bigger stature would. And that means my de-escalation tactics usually result from the way I can speak with people. So my approach. So how are you arriving at a situation? How are you connecting with the individual? What other sources? Using empathy. I find that women definitely will rely more heavily on these strategies. And we have more empathy and maternal instincts typically.
I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about incidents that involve sexual assault or intimate partner violence, and how you perceive certainly women officers in that particular experience.
Again, I think when there is female officers there to represent the community, there is a lot of the demographic typically in those incidents are females, and the females are typically the victim. They're the larger portion of the victim. So being able to speak with the female officer can provide a lot more reassurance for those victims. And it just means that they're being represented, and there's trust that gets built a lot quicker. Doesn't necessarily mean that male officers cannot provide that. It's just having that force to have that option for these victims.
What I have found is from reading the information, and thank you, Wendy, for sending this along, the 30 Forward pledge really enhances what the police servicing can provide for our community. That's how I interpret it. And I think the aspirational move will benefit our community. But Wendy, I'm really curious, as the HR manager, and the person who is involved in recruitment and all of those strategies, tell me how you're going to achieve that 30 plus.
That's a very good question, Carol. We've started by actually changing up our recruitment ads. So at the very beginning of the process, we're trying to feature female officers in our recruitment ads, so that people can look at the ad and see themselves in it. What might it be like if I was wearing that uniform? Another change we've made is we've been running women-only information nights. And what that is it's an opportunity to come in. We do small groups. The women come in, and I'm there. We have one of our detectives and we have one of our patrol officers. And we explain what the job's like. We give them an overview of what the recruitment process is like. And then it's an opportunity to ask any questions that they would like to ask about what it's like to be a police officer. And by having women only in the session, they can also ask questions about what is it like if you take a maternity leave? What is it like when you're balancing childcare? And it's proved very, very helpful. We've had record numbers come out to participate in these sessions. And I think it opens the door for people to say, you know what, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could actually see myself in Rebecca's shoes, and I could give back to my community in that way.
So would you say that the questions around, could I do the job and childcare are the main, or have there been questions that have come forward that surprised you?
Interesting. There's always questions that surprise me. I'll be honest. But a lot of it is just around sort of the stereotypes of what they perceive policing to be versus the reality of what it is. Mm-hmm. And, from years ago, it was a tall male who was a police officer, usually over 6 foot, and usually somebody from the community. Whereas nowadays we want to be representative of our community. And so that's different cultural backgrounds, different genders, so that the community sees us in them, and we build trust in that way.
So I'm going to turn to the chief, and I'm wondering if you can talk about the integration within the culture of policing for women, and have there been any approaches that you've used to be able to assist in this initiative? Anything that you thought this needs to be more comprehensive or more inclusive as far as welcoming more women into the force?
I think when I started, it was probably, and that was 36 years ago. I think that was the start of, a large number of women getting into policing as a career. So as a percentage, it was low, but, 2 out of the 6 that I went to college with from my police service were females at the time. And I think the biggest thing that I recognize is the different challenges that women face, especially in a career in policing. My wife, I'm very proud of, was a 35-year civilian member of police service, it's just over 31-year civilian member of police service. And, I think I'm in a unique position because there were times when we were both working shift work and recognizing that we needed a babysitter for a half an hour or an hour in the morning because we were on different shifts. So we were home with our kids, and so we could balance that out. So there was more presence from a parent. But there were a lot of things that you had to give up because of that. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is to focus on what, there's a lot of positives, but then there are certain challenges that you have to recognize, you have to identify. And I think there's been more support and there's been more recognition of those challenges as an organization and as a policing as a profession. And since the 1990s, and it's developed, and it's taken some time, but I think things like 30 Forward are the opportunities for everybody to get on the same page and to say, we recognize what these challenges are. The benefits far outweigh any of the challenges. It's time to move forward, and it's time to make this happen.
Thank you. Rebecca, what do people say to you when you're either speaking to them about it as a career, or, from your perspective, how do you encourage women to consider from a career? I understand, Wendy, from your perspective and how you do it, but on a one-on-one, Rebecca, with people approach you wherever you are, what do you say to them?
I think if somebody is genuinely interested to become a police officer, really it's going to be very specific to them about, why do they maybe feel like it wouldn't be an opportunity? And really it's just talking through just some of those, like you say, just what we called them earlier, myths around policing, that it is achievable with the family, that it is a supportive culture, that your service will understand, the different complexities of a personal life, and be able to support you. And then when you're in the police force, just again, because you're of a smaller stature, does not mean you cannot handle physical situations either. We have great training, we have great resources, and we now really focus on de-escalation tactics from the get-go at the Ontario Police College, about how to de-escalate, and all of it is very achievable. So it's really just making sure that they know they'll be supported and that they can do it.
Excellent. Wendy, what will next steps be for you as far as recruitment initiatives? Continuing what you're doing, or are there other strategies that you have in the back of your mind that you want to share?
We will definitely continue with the initiatives that we have. We're hoping to invite some high school students out for an information night. They obviously will have a few years to go before they make a decision about whether they want to become police officers or not. But having that opportunity to speak to them at an early stage and explaining what the opportunity is like and what the path might be that they could take to get there will also help. We are doing more outreach than we have in the past. So we are actually going out to various locations, various colleges, universities, community groups to speak about the opportunity and to engage others.
Excellent. So it really is just approaching people, planting the seeds, consider this as a career. Now, if anyone is interested and they want to actually speak directly or be with an officer, perhaps just to get a visual on what happens, is that possible? Have you set that up at all?
So it is part of our recruitment process.
Okay.
Once you're into the recruitment process, between the first and the second interview, we send the candidate for a ride along. So they're able to be out with an officer for a fair chunk of time and see what an actual day in the life is like. Because we definitely want people to have a very clear understanding of what the job entails, but also the pace that goes along with it. And we are a very busy service. So we do like to have our candidates go and experience that one-on-one.
Chief, I'm wondering if you can share what are you hearing back from the community about the initiative? What are people saying about the aspiration to bring more women onto the Owen Sound Police Service?
I think generally it's been supported. There have been some comments on, after the release that, that were misinformed, I'll say, where, they're dropping the standards in order to hire women, and that's not the case. And I mean, we want to stress the fact that we're still hiring the best candidates. We just want to attract candidates, and some of the best candidates out there will be women, and we want to attract the best candidates, no matter who they are, and fill our positions with the best people possible. And so that's probably the myth that was out there that we had to get rid of. Generally, though, it's been very supported. And, to stress what Rebecca was saying about use of force and things, we handled almost 19,000 calls for service last year, just 18,900 plus. And of those, I haven't got the final numbers. They'll be coming to the next board meeting, but I bet you that we're probably less than or around 25 use of force reports. And so out of 19,000 interactions that are actually occurrences, but that's only a portion of things. If you're stopping and dealing with somebody and there's an actual police report filed, how many interactions, and that doesn't include traffic stops and tickets and all those other things. So how many interactions do we actually have? And what's the percentage where there's actually use of force? As Rebecca explained it very well, there's de-escalation in everything we do. Communication is the key to being a police officer. It's not brute strength or force. I happen to be, the model of the 1950s policeman, maybe of my size and build, but I certainly am not the 1950s policeman. I can count on my one hand the number of times I've actually had to use force, and I think probably the same number of times I've had to fill out a use of force report through 36 years. It's not about using force. It's about using your brain. It's about using your mouth and speaking and taking control of the situation. Did my size help take control of some situations and avoid problems? Yeah, probably. I'm not going to argue that. But the fact is, it's not about the use of force, and people have to understand that, it's about using your brain. It's about using your mouth. It's about talking to people, treating people like you want to be treated, and that avoids all those other problems. And so that's what we're looking for in candidates: the ability, the life skills that people bring to the job, their background, the type of person that they are. Those are all the things that we're looking for.
And that's really helpful to know that, it is about community service through policing is about communication and meeting people where they are and being able to assist them. We have about 3 minutes left. And I'm wondering if there's something that we haven't talked about that you want to profile around the recruitment or just the experience. Rebecca, is there anything, or Wendy?
I mean, I can just, from my own personal experience, I can say that I had been, when I did my career change, I had a very young child at the time. I was actually just coming out of my second mat leave. And when I went to police college, and it's just really to say like that, I think a lot of myths do come around for women and how they're going to be supported as well with a young family, as well with all of the different things that come out of that. But I did feel that, I mean, I can't speak for every service, but I can definitely speak for Owen Sound police service that, you know, all my colleagues, everybody is very understanding about your family life, about supporting you in a new career. Again, I came from a background of sales. So one thing I have maybe is my communication skills, but a lot of different skills I had to learn. And your training is very good. I've had ongoing training since I've joined the service, so everything is just definitely within reach. Should you want to take the opportunity, it's definitely there.
Excellent. So, Wendy, this recruitment strategy, it's not going to end tomorrow or the next day. This is long term, right?
Yes, it is.
So,
And our focus is to attract, like the chief said, the best and the brightest to our service. And we want genuinely to have a service that's reflective of the community that we serve. And that's our long-term goal.
so there's still room after 30.
Yes, there is. You got that right, Carol.
There's room to grow, and certainly, yeah, you know, thinking of this over many years is certainly an important strategy as well. So anyone who's listening or watching this program, even parents or grandparents who might want to encourage
Yes.
individuals to, who can they call? Who can they you reach besides the education?
Yeah, I would direct them to our website. The HR at owensoundpolice.com is the email that comes directly to me, and I speak to every candidate that applies. So people hear back from me usually within a day or two, and we figure out whether this is the opportunity for them.
So even if they're not sure, or they don't even know what to ask, but it's tweaked their interest, your advice is call and talk.
Definitely. Give me a call, send me an email. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. And it's part of a dialogue. It may take 6 months or 12 months or 2 years before you actually make the decision to change careers. And that's normal. That's okay. This is a big decision.
I can't believe our time is already up, and I want to thank all of you for being on the program. I've certainly learned, and you know, I just can't help but think what a wonderful opportunity that is for women out there in our community, and to bring additional diversity to the police services, which benefits all of us in a community. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Chief, for signing the pledge, and thank you, Rebecca, for being here in our community, demonstrating women in policing. And Wendy, good luck with your recruitment. All the best. I want
Thank
to
you so
thank our
much.
You're welcome. I want to thank our viewing and listening audience for joining us today to learn more about programs, resources, and services available to you and to your family. Please join us again to learn more. Take care. Stay safe.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hello, your cell phone. How can I help?
Adults
I need
must be 18
somebody,
to enter.
not just anybody. Won't you please?